Hello, welcome to A Cup of Joe with Joe. I'm your girl, Johana, better known as Joe. Welcome to our 7th episode of A Cup of Joe with Joe. It's been a while, you guys haven't seen me. We were in Haiti and we were doing so many other things. So the last Wednesday of June, I had to make the decision to take some time for myself, self-care, because there was a lot going on ending the month, and then starting July, there was a lot going on with our family. The trip from Haiti took a lot out of us. So I decided to do what was best for me and take a moment to just breathe a little, focus on other things, and really thought about what I wanted to talk about this next go around. And so I'm excited that you guys are joining me because I have a guest with me this week on A Cup of Joe with Joe. We're going to talk about, of course, continuing our conversation about self-care, mental health. We're going to continue that conversation. And actually what I promised you last show was we'll take a little deeper dive into us women really prioritizing our mental health and why it's important to prioritize our mental health. And I didn't want to just do it with my little expert background and the research that I'm doing, or my just my personal experience. I wanted to bring an expert, someone that I've gotten to know over the past several months a lot, and I actually took with me to Haiti. So we're going to talk a little bit about our trip. We're going to get to know her a little bit better, her background, her experience, and what she's passionate about. And we're going to close with focusing on why it's important to take care of your mental health. So help me welcome my first guest ever at A Cup of Joe with Joe, Miss Crystal Johnson. Yay!
Hi, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm just so excited you're here finally to talk about a topic that I know I've talked your ear off about. And the good news is we both, it's very important to both of us as women, professional women, and as Black women, the importance of prioritizing our mental health under the umbrella of self-care.
Absolutely.
So we're going to do this just like a little bit of chat. Like I didn't prepare anything. I didn't script anything because I really want this to come very authentic and very real for you guys. So we're going to start by me asking, just tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Well, I am a nurse practitioner. My background is in family medicine, but I've always had a passion for mental health. That's actually how I started my career. And so before that, I knew it was this underlying tone in the culture in our community of what mental health was and the understanding of how it impacts our lives on a regular basis. Right. And so when I set out on this journey of like just basically self-healing in myself, you know what I mean? Right. Trying to figure out how this all makes sense and what I've also been taught from a cultural piece versus the medicine side, Eastern and Western medicine, what I've also been taught that way. I'm like, something isn't adding up. You know what I mean? I'm like, it has to be something deeper than that. And so with that, I made it my business. It's been my life purpose to actually kind of bring it full circle with the medical and mental health piece. Just because you can't, like I can chase your labs all day, but if you're out of alignment mentally, that's going to continue to show up on a day-to-day basis. And it's very important because not only just physical health, it's very important to be mentally healthy as well.
Exactly. I think that's the thing. Talk a little bit about how our mental health affect our medical health, right? And I think we disconnect the two.
Absolutely.
And we don't think the two have anything to do with each other. And so we have chronic issues that comes up, and we're trying to chase the chronic issue, but yet we have so much mental health issues and issues that we're dealing with mentally that we don't think is connected. Talk a little bit about the connection between the medical and the mental.
They're very much so connected, and actually there is a phenomenon with that to some degree. If mentally you don't handle like whatever is going on mentally, it's going to show up physically. A lot of times that's really where a lot of chronic illnesses show up, is they show up mentally, and because we ignore them and we push ourselves, that leads to a cascade of events that eventually will manifest itself as a physical illness. A lot of times it's definitely anti-inflammatory issues, there's autoimmune diseases, there's hypertension, there's all these things that your body is screaming at you, hey, listen to me, something is going on. And if we don't start with that, like I said, I can chase your labs all day, but if you don't handle that underlying mental health piece, you're going to continue to throw yourself out of alignment.
Especially in our community, especially with women. particularly Black women. And the Haitian community, you hear all the time we describe, Haitian women or resilient.
Exactly. And
and we're supposed to be strong.
Keep going,
but talk about how sometimes damaging that could be
very damaging
to the mental health that then affects the medical health.
That is very damaging in our psyche and in our culture. The way we're raised is that if you address something that's meant is perceived as weak, there's something wrong with you, even though you know something is wrong. But if you acknowledge that, because you're taught to be resilient, that's good. Resilience is good, but addressing something that's chronic is bad. And so that creates this cascade of events. It creates this recurrent thought pattern in the psyche. And every time you want to address that issue, it's also you're hearing your mom, you're hearing your aunt, you're hearing your dad over and over and over again telling you, get over it.
Push through. Pull yourself up by a bootstrap and push through.
When you can no longer push through anymore, because it will come to that. That's the thing. Like I tell people all the time, when your nervous system is stressed to that point, your body is physically going to give up. It's a very thin line between sanity and insanity. And so if you cross that line, your body and your brain has been telling you these things all along. And because we're not listening to ourselves, we're listening to our parents and our aunts, we are literally doing ourselves a disservice. You know what I mean? We are ignoring ourselves. It's just like having a child. There's no way your baby is going to come to you and complain of all these things and you not address it. But we do the same thing to ourselves all the time.
Preach it. I love that analogy. Yes. We would address it immediately with our kids. But when our body is telling us we won't address it because we're conditioned to push through.
To believe that that's healthy.
That's healthy.
You know what I mean?
That's it.
Your grandmother did it. I did it. Your aunts did it. So you should be able to do it. We're in different times now. It's a completely different set of circumstances between what was taught and learned by our moms and grandparents and what we're going through now, especially as Black women.
Yeah.
We are in positions of, you know what I mean, power and authority and things of that, and so the weight of that is so much more heavier than it was before.
So heavy.
Not to say our parents and
their
weight wasn't heavy,
right?
But at the end of the day, they're teaching you from a perspective that they have never lived.
That's right.
And so for me and my mom to be able to tell me hey, you need to just get over it. Well, you've never been in this situation to where you are literally being beat down every single day.
I say that all the time. Yeah. I was like, going out there, and if you've been watching a couple of Joe, I say all the time, we women, we put that big old S in our chest, and we go out there and we conquer the world, and we're supposed
to keep doing it.
Exactly.
That's our job.
Exactly. At some point, we're going to break if we don't pay attention to what our body is telling us. I have become better, particularly in the last several months since you've been in my life. I have actually learned to pause. That's why I decided not to do the third Cup of Joe with Joe in June, is because I think we had a conversation after I came back from Haiti, and I was telling you that even though I took that day off, that Wednesday after I've come back, and you were like, wait, you only took one day?
Yep.
I need you to shut down. Exactly. I need you to take time and relax and actually not do anything. Yeah. And so we, particularly as corporate women, business women, business leaders, entrepreneurs, we're juggling a lot, and it's a different era and it is okay. Not to be okay. And it is okay to say, pause. I'm going to take time out for me. It's not selfish. Yes. It's not self-centered, because like I said in a Cup of Joe with Joe 2 episodes ago, if you don't put that mask on yourself first, you are
will
no
not
good.
Be help for anybody else at all. And you bring up a great point. It is okay not to be okay.
Yes.
And so a lot of times I also explain that, even with the physical and mental health issue, there's a symptom profile to every single illness, and you know what I mean, not only just a physical illness. If you have a cold, you're going to have a runny nose or a sore throat. If you have high blood pressure, you may have chest pain and high blood pressure. So if you treat these things with medications and you look at the symptom profile, why isn't the same attention paid to mental health disorders?
Wow.
There
so
is
big.
A symptom profile, and a lot of times we don't walk around and listen to ourselves, but our bodies are literally screaming at us from the beginning. And if you don't listen when it starts to whisper, it will start to yell, and then it'll start start to scream, and then you will start to break down. And so some of those symptoms could be, agitation. It can be being short. It can be irritability. It can be isolation. It could be withdrawal. You know what I mean? Frustration. All these things.
For my symptom profile, it's so funny you said that. My symptom profile, I've become aware of it. It happened actually on my birthday. About 4:00 the day of my birthday, which was just about a week since I came back from Haiti. It was irritability. It was frustration. It was, I wouldn't say isolation, but it was
that needing to pull back. And
like my brain was starting to shut down. I was doing things I loved. I was around people I loved, but I couldn't enjoy it. I couldn't be. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I need to slow down. But the awareness, and then I started listening to my body is after of what you've taught me, what the signs and symptoms profile were, and then I realized, wait, that's not me. I was snapping at people, and I wasn't being myself, and I realized, okay, my body's telling me to slow down, to take time out. And so it's very important, women, ladies, my girls, for you to listen to your body and 100%. Do what's necessary for you to take care of yourself. So it's that we definitely wanted to talk about that. The next thing I wanted to talk about, a little bit tying the mental health with, particularly for women, girls, is the trip that we took to Haiti
which
when
was
we had
amazing. Oh my gosh.
So tell me about your experience and a little bit about the talk we had with the girls, both phase 1 and phase 2. And when I say the girls, I'm talking about Haiti Teen Challenge. We spent some times with both phase 1 and phase 2. One of the reasons why I brought Crystal with me is, again, that whole mental awareness, mental health, and paying attention to your body, particularly if you've had trauma. And we wanted, I've been blessed with this opportunity to have this resource in my life, and I wanted to share it with my girls. So tell me about your experience with going to Haiti with us.
Oh, it was absolutely amazing. So for me, trauma-informed care has become literally my life's purpose, specifically for young adolescent women and young adults. That area is something that I'm very passionate about. Because again, when you go culturally, you're not taught to be able to pay attention to yourself and say things in that nature. And furthermore, if you've been through trauma, you don't know the impact that it has on your life. Because this reel has been playing in your head all my life, like, okay, I need to get over it. You think 5, 6, 7 years down the line, you have gotten over it until physical manifestations start to come up. Exactly. And so going to, Haiti and addressing with the girls, a lot of them do have, traumatic past. And so I felt that it was very important, especially before they transition back into their homes, to understand some of the things that were going to be happening, and especially on a neurobiological level, especially from that, because when these things are happening, you don't have a complete understanding of it. And so the girls, they were getting ready to graduate. The phase 1 girls were getting ready to graduate, and so they were getting ready to transition back to their homes. And it was such an honor to be invited into that space with them as they transitioned to home. And then phase 2 girls had been there for about 6 months, I believe it was.
Phase 1 was there 6 months. Phase 2 had been there 18 months, and then they were transitioning. So talk about how you think the girls received. You talked about the trauma how it, neurobiological. Like that was I think phase 2, I think towards the middle, it really clicked with them, and they were like, a lot of the light. You started seeing the light bulbs go
when
on.
And that's for me. That's what I literally saw the light bulbs going on. Because obviously, I don't speak Creole, so you have to be my translator. But once they started to ask the questions, I was like, they got it, what I was trying to give them. Yeah. And so that for me was just so rewarding in that way, for them to understand how this fits into their life, even though they're young brown girls. You know what I mean? And these things aren't put in their field of reach, you know what I mean, on a day-to-day basis. Even just that little talk, that little hour or 2 talk, they got it. Yeah. They understood very quickly, like, oh, I know. And I'm a firm believer that your state of awareness changes everything. Yes. Once you're aware of something, you cannot unknow it.
And I want to pause there, because that's what happened to me after a few conversations with you, right? It's my state of awareness of how my body speaks to me now, I don't overlook it anymore.
Exactly.
Because once you are aware, you can't be
cannot,
unaware
exactly,
of it, right?
exactly.
And so again, during my birthday weekend, I realized, wait, I'm becoming
This is
irritable. Something is happening
exactly.
to me. I need to take a pause. So that Friday after my birthday, when we had our guests here, I didn't do any activities. We stayed home and stayed in bed because we needed to sleep. And both myself and my girlfriend, hi Midgene, we slept the whole day.
And rightfully so. Your body is telling you when it needs to rest. Like literally, you hold all emotions in your body, good, bad, and different. All of your emotions are held in your body. And so when certain things are coming up, if you're continuously overlooking them, it's literally giving you information that you're looking, trying to figure out what's wrong, but your body's already telling you.
Exactly.
It is already telling you. And then furthermore, with the nervous system, that piece, when we go, we literally deplete our reserve. And so that one day that you took off is not enough to recover. You have literally got to allow your body and your brain to recover. Because when things like that happens, it's your nervous system telling you that something is off kilter.
And that's what I think, for me, one of the moments, I think we spent about 2 hours with the girl, particularly phase 2. I think that was one of the aha moment was when you connected with what's happening in their brain to their body.
Yes.
If something comes up that reminded, that triggered a past trauma. I think once that connected, I was proud to have that connected moment, because once they are aware of it, you can unaware, because now they know, okay,
like
I know what's happening.
At that moment, you have the ability to be able to choose old things that you used to do, or it gives you that split second to say, let me take the road less traveled. And the more
say that again, because once you are aware that it was a trigger of something, say that part again.
So once you're aware of it, you have the choice. It gives you that split second to say, I want to continue to choose these old habits that I used to do, or I'm going to choose the road less traveled. And the more you do that neurobiologically, you are creating new neural pathways.
Thank you. I really wanted us to hit on that today, particularly why I wanted to bring you with me to Haiti, talking to the phase 2 girl, is because they are going back to their community, particularly given the socioeconomic, and I mean, particularly what just happened last week in Haiti, the mental trauma,
like the social environment, the cultural trauma, all of these things, you know what I mean? And here it is, these girls are working so hard to, you know what I mean? Not that, their families didn't love them, but to do better and be better. And when you are literally fighting an uphill battle where you're pushing a boulder uphill, it can be very discouraging when hard things like that happen. And again, that's when it comes online, being resilient. Sometimes, again, it is okay not to be okay, and it's okay to sit down and take a couple beats and take some breath and do some self-care. That is one of the it's a very important thing for self-care. Because you get one body, you get one brain, you get one mind that has to last you an entire lifetime. And if you don't take care of it, it will start to decline very fast, quicker than you realize,
quicker than you. And that's what I think. That's what was important for me to bring forth with the girls and become that resource. And at least for that 2 hours, have them aware of. Pay attention. We're not saying going back home, going back to your community is going to be easy. The 18 months they spent, wipe everything clean, old habits, old things. We're human, and those things did happen to us, right? We can't unchange what happened, but we can
encode it into your nervous system.
Give ourselves skill set.
And put
awareness
some guardrails,
and put some guardrails around us. Okay, I see what's happening. It feels familiar. Okay, what do I do now? Talk about how that aha moment, I wish we had videotaped that aha moment for the girls.
And a lot of times with trauma, there are triggers. I mean, that's a buzzword, so to speak, but no, it's a real thing. And you can be triggered by any one of your 5 senses. So for example, if you were 5 years old and you experienced a traumatic car accident, right? And you were crushed, so that's the physical aspect of it. You heard the glass breaking. That's the sound of it.
Hearing,
exactly.
One of the 5 the senses.
The airbags have deployed. Now you smell that smoke. You know what I mean? Or you bit your lip, so you taste that blood. Anytime your nervous system is reminded with any one of those senses, it can take you right back to that trauma time. And so a lot of times the reaction from your nervous system, you may not understand why, But one of those senses is like,
remember something that happened.
Exactly. I remember a point in time where it was your fight or flight system comes on board. And when your fight or flight system comes on board, that's a system that's supposed to keep you safe. That way, if somebody's coming down the street with a knife or a gun, it's supposed to take, you know what I mean?
Protect yourself.
Protect yourself, you know what I mean? Like, your pupils are going to dilate, you know, you're going to have, you know,
extra
endorphins and adrenaline
to
to be, your muscles are going to tight up so you can get away. But what happens with chronic trauma, specifically complex trauma, is
and women in particular, what our girls
exactly
went
what
through.
they went through. Like the flip is stuck on, and so when you're having that cascade of chemicals that are rushing through your body, it creates a cascade of events, and it starts to affect you mentally and physically, and that's like depression, anxiety, you know, issues with insomnia, hypervigilance, PTSD symptoms. Like, literally, it that's what happens. It takes them back to trauma time. And so in learning that, if they're aware that, okay, I feel like I might be triggered, there are things that you can do to calm your nervous system down, specifically physiologically until psychologically you can do that. And the more you do that, the stronger that mental muscle is going to become, because we've got neural pathways that are kind of ingrained. They're like old habits that we have, but our brain is so malleable that we can create new neural pathways. And
I think that's what we learned that in that talk, and I was like, so I can teach my brain,
your brain,
that I don't have to react that way to that, and so I'm gonna choose to do these.
Exactly.
And if I do this one time, I'm gonna do it this next time it happens.
And it'll become easier.
It becomes easier,
and it'll become second nature to where that's your new response versus the old responses.
Exactly. And that is what I wanted. My desire was when I met her, and I was like, oh gosh, she's gotta come and teach this. Oh gosh, she's gotta come and teach this with the girls. It's, you know, it's one of the things I do for all of you guys who know me, is whatever I do to, you know, get myself better, to improve myself, to become a better human being, better friend, better sister, wife, mother, whatever, I want to bring to my people, to my friends, to my colleagues, is because I'm aware and I want them to be aware. And this is an amazing tool that I just had to share with everybody. You know, I just had to bring it, you know, to everybody. And so, not wanting to rush this, but what was your biggest takeaway from not just the trip in Haiti, besides the beautiful food and everything that we had,
food was just absolutely
and the
amazing.
view and the pool and all of that? What was your biggest takeaway from the talk that we had, with both thinking of phase 1 girls being early in their stage and phase 2 girls, and like what was, and then understanding, you know, as I've been speaking with you about the culture, understanding the socioeconomic issue, political issue that's going on in Haiti, particularly with the assassination of the president last week. Like, what's the biggest takeaway when you now have a better understanding of Haiti and then the program?
Well, the program, for me, like the program, again, that is just what I love to do. So it just reignites, basically. Like, I know that I'm put on this earth to do that work. And with Haiti, I mean, to be fair, like, I never really had a negative view of Haiti. I felt at home. You know what I mean? When I see, I'm like, oh, we are the same.
Side note, 2 of the girls, I think 3 of the girls was like, you should do your DNA background. Are you sure
I should hire a detective to figure out if I'm Haitian. Yeah. So I felt right at home. The hospitality was, you know, tremendous. Like, they welcomed me in, and I felt welcomed. I felt like I was at home. So it was just an amazing experience. And then to top it off, to be able to be you know, just a small part of such a monumental transition in these girls' lives. And one of the best things, like, I have never seen a classic foot washing ceremony. My mom always, my grandmother was primitive Baptist, and so they will always do it. But I was raised Baptist, and so to see that, I call my mom, they did it all for, you know what I mean?
You call your mom?
I did, because she will always tell us about it, and how that's just a sign of respect, and, you know, how special that practice was. So for me to actually witness that and see that for the girls, it was just, you know, it was
I didn't know you've never had one. Oh my goodness, that is amazing. Well, I'm glad you had that experience and wanted to, you know, that's another one of my passions. If you know me, you know I talk a lot about my culture. I talk a lot about Haiti, about my proud Haitianness, and then particularly here in America, with you and I and our background in our industry, you know, there is the women in our industry. Not too many of us are in high position in our industry. And then Black woman in our industry, and what that comes with it, and what that comes with. And then for me as a Haitian woman, with what that comes with. And so I think we related so much. It was like kindred spirit. It was like
exactly like we didn't have to translate.
We didn't really have to translate.
Exactly.
And then when you add our passion for mental health and mental wellness for women, Black women, it was like, okay, this has to happen, you know. And I think it's because we go through it, we understand it, and once we're now aware, right?
Exactly.
We are on a mission to talk about it with other women, to talk about it with Haitian women and Black women.
And I think that's probably a lot of what kind of drew me to your spirit, is that spirit of not like, I'm up, but I'm not going to help the next person up. It's like each one teach one, do one.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so that passion of yours is like, if I eat, we all eat. You know what I mean? If I have the knowledge, I'm going to tell you the knowledge as well. It's not like, oh, I'm doing better. Like you figure out your way. Like, no, you are very giving in that way in terms of like the knowledge in your space.
I wanted to, one, share my culture with you, two, and then bring you to an opportunity because you're so passionate about it, you know, like for you to go to school, focus on it, and now making it your life mission. And it's like, oh my gosh, like I have a territory for you, girl.
Which was an amazing. I'm like, this is like, it was like a kid in the candy store. I'm like, this is what I want to do with my life. So obviously, like,
I think we connected that way, and our love for sharing, and that's what I want to do at A Cup of Joe with Joe. You know, it's like bring things that helps me professionally, personally, spiritually, financially, as a woman, as a mom, as a sister, as a friend. If it benefited me and it's helping me improve my life here on this planet, why am I not going to bring other people and say, hey, this would work for me? And so that's my passion. And then we connected that way, and you have such a wealth of resource in your professional and the profession that you are in. It's just like, we need to bring this to a bigger audience. And one of the reasons why I wanted the mental health, you know, prioritizing your mental health, I wanted to bring an expert, because I'm not an expert. I'm just enjoying
and it is so
the relationship with an expert that's improving my life. So it's like, okay, I got to bring the expert to you all.
But it's, and I can't say it enough. It is so important. It's just as important it is for your physical health. You've got to make sure you put that same time and energy into your mental health.
Exactly. So, so before we close, so I'm going to give Crystal an opportunity for her to address you guys directly. And so my question is going to be, in the next 2 minutes, you know, as a Black woman, who now understands Haiti from that perspective, corporately, financially, and all of that, plus under the mental health umbrella, what advice would you have for the audience out here, for my audience out here, about prioritizing their mental health?
You know, I'm glad you brought that question up, because that has been something that actually on this journey for me, that's figuring out what it was, what to call it. We don't know what to call it, you know what I mean? But on this journey, what I found also is just being mindful. Mindfulness is a practice, and it like literally is a practice. The more you do it, the stronger it becomes. Paying attention to yourself and knowing when you're out of alignment, knowing when you're out of balance. Just the pure awareness of it is it gives you more information to be able to make the decision to actually intervene. And also, especially in corporate America, it's okay to seek out help. It's help out here for a reason. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, yes, we're not used to it culturally. You know what I mean? We don't know what to call it, but now we do. So when you're aware of it, being able to seek out services. There are a lot of people out here. There's, you know, you've got therapists, you've got psychiatrists, you've got counselors, you've got, you know, LCSWs. There are a wealth of people to be able to help manage these disorders. And again, like I said, it's a disease or a disorder just like any other disorder. It has an etiology and a pathophysiology just like any other disorder. And so finding a specialist who actually specializes in that, they went to school for it for a reason, actually addressing it, because you don't have to suffer. You know what I mean?
And to close with that, last week, in the episode that I shot in Haiti, I mentioned Meghan Markle and I had mentioned Naomi Osaka. Last week, Naomi Osaka actually came out with a Time magazine, and on the Time magazine cover, it actually said, "It's okay not to be okay." And I quickly texted you. I remember I texted you, "See what we're talking about? It's okay not to be okay." And so talk about like pleading with people out there that it's okay not to be okay. And as a professional who sees patients, who diagnose, who treat patient, tell them that it is okay not to be okay.
It is okay not to be okay. It is absolutely okay not to be okay. And as a matter of fact, the once you admit that you're not okay, that also gives you now a little bit more mental to actually go out and do something. Because when you're not okay, you got to get out of that. You know what I mean? And you don't have to do it alone. That's the other thing. Right. A lot of people are doing this in silence. You know what I mean? Not only just because of embarrassment, not having the resources, not having the support, but
family member telling you could do it.
Yeah, exactly. But literally, closed mouths don't get fed. But when you open up your mouth and you ask for help, then the services are available. Not even just professionally, but you let your family know when you're suffering. Don't suffer alone. Don't suffer in silence.
And let me quickly plug in here with what Crystal just said. There's a spiritual component to it also. Once you take the first step, we always say God was waiting for you to take the first step to do something.
Absolutely.
Like once you profess it, he manifests it, right? And so it's the same concept with handling our mental health or anything. Like once we say we need help, all of a sudden the help is going to be there. And so it's making that statement, hey, I need help, and understanding that it is okay. It's also a spiritual biblical principle.
100% that. And even bringing that into the fold, like obviously, especially in my culture, religion has been one of the things that has held us back from actually acknowledging mental illness. Now, again, I'm not saying don't pray, because I pray every day. But at the end of the day, he's giving us tools to be able to use in addition to that. You know what I mean? Faith without works is dead. Like you can have faith, you can say that prayer, but I'm going to need you to move your feet and actually do some action behind that as well. Exactly. And he will hold you up, just like the footprints, poem. He will carry you through it. But again, you have to profess that, you know what I mean? And actually move forward with actually calling it what it is.
Correct. Like you speak it. So that way you could find the healing for it. And that he's waiting for you to say it. He's put those resources. It is a I say it is a physical principle that is also spiritual principle.
Yeah, mental, spiritual, physical. And actually that is, again, that's really my life's purpose, is like figuring out a way to complete this circle, because it is a mental, physical, and spiritual connection and healing, because it has to come from all three. It can't be one or the other.
Exactly.
It has to be all three.
One can be stronger than the other. That, what you said, that depletion. Eventually, you're going to feel one area is depleting more than the others, and you're wondering why you're out of balance.
Exactly.
You wonder why things are not working the way it's supposed to work in your life and manifesting the way you're supposed to do it. And so that's the thing. And so I'm just so excited. So clearly this is not the only time that Crystal's gonna come here. We could talk about this forever all and ever. All day. Yes. We could go on all day, but I'm trying to keep this at right at that 35. We're about to be at that 35 minutes. And so, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
I could listen to your brain. I think the last time we went to dinner, they shut the restaurant down on us.
Literally hours.
And they shut the restaurant down. Like the servers were cleaning up the restaurant when we were leaving.
Patio doors coming down.
Patios coming down, exactly. Because we're so passionate about doing better for us, for our women, and teaching other people to do better for themselves. So clearly this is not the only time Crystal is coming. So once the time is all right, we got our schedule lined up, I'm going to bring her back again. And if you guys have any topics related to prioritizing our mental health or relating to any of that, our physical and mental, how do we align the two, mindfulness, awareness, text me, call me, message me. I always forget to do this. Go on my YouTube page, subscribe, and hit the bell button so you could get these things, these updates, as well as, again, message me, call me, like, and subscribe to the page. I am really trying to find resources, professional resources in different area to come, because that's what Cup of Joe with Joe is. If you know who you are and whose you are, you'll better at being a woman, a wife, a mom, a student, an entrepreneur, a business owner, your sister, friend, whatever it may be. That's my goal, is to find these resources that is helping my life, so that way then I can help other people. So again, Crystal, darling, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. It's been such a pleasure.
I appreciate you. I know this was so much fun. Ladies and everyone who's watching, and gents, I know I have a couple of gents who watch. Thank you guys for joining A Cup of Joe with Joe today. I'm looking forward to the next episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow us on YouTube, on Facebook, or on Instagram. Thank you guys for coming. I appreciate you guys. Have a great Wednesday, and we'll see you next time.
Indeed.
Bye.